Success for me is a team that's rowing together, that trusts each other. We share, we have conversations. We've unleashed everybody's superpower rather than, holding it in, holding it down. We've created an environment that creativity flows, conversations happen, truth is told, respect is honored. I understand my role and I understand you guys trust me in that role and I have strength in that role and I have the ability and the green light to go do the best freaking job I can do. And I know that for everybody else on my team. So
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Exact Digital Podcast, where we dig into the minds of marketers who are doing more than just running campaigns. They're building strategies from the ground up. Today's guest is Jennie Larsen, Marketing Director at Marketing Simplify, a seasoned strategist who spent years working with fast-scaling startups and household names like Spikeball. She's known for bringing clarity, structure, and strategy to a messy campaign and for telling it like it is when it comes to what actually moves the needle. In this episode, we'll dive into why so many businesses fail to define their goals, how Jennie helps brands avoid strategyless marketing traps, what fractional campaign leadership looks like in action, and why building a marketing plan is exactly like building a house. Jennie, welcome to the show.
hi, Kenzie. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to hear all you have to tell. And I think that your insights based on our pre-podcast conversation were amazing. And I'm super excited to hear about the building a house comparison. But first, we'll start off with you said marketing strategy and everything else is just a tool. What do you think causes so many companies to skip that first step?
Honestly, I think it just comes down to three things. And first, it really is just not knowing. Usually a business starts with a problem. They see a solution that they believe in. And that's simple. They see a need, they build something, you go out and sell it. And the way I look at it, it's like looking at a mountain from the base. And then from that perspective, you think, okay, I need boots, I need a coat, I need water, I need food. And then you assess those needs and you pack them up and you head up. But a strategist is in a company in a situation like that and then not knowing, and this is how I explain it to my clients, is you have to think of a strategist like a guide. So in the mountain scenario, I talk in a lot of metaphors, so I hope that's okay. But in the mountain scenario, someone look at the base looking up, they assess their needs, but a guide understands the terrain they're going to go into. So the way I look at it as a strategist, as a guide, I would say, okay, I know that from the mountain it looks like that, but I also know the trail turns from dirt to slush to ice. I know what animals are there. I know what to expect, the detours, and then you create a strategy for that terrain and you pack for that terrain. So a strategist is not just there they look at the terrain, not just the destination. And the second one, I would say the reason they skip strategy is out of fear. They have kind of like this FOMO of falling behind. Like, we don't have time to plan. We don't have time for that. We just need to get it out. We just need to get out there and see, which is, part of a strategy, which is at some point you just have to aim, shoot, fire. That is part of a strategy. But skipping strategy altogether out of fear just isn't a good approach. And then I would say the third one, and this is probably the most tough, is just ego. Some companies or some leaders just aren't open to listening or doing anything differently. So they'll bring in a strategist or, an expert, and they're just not open to hearing what needs to be done. But I would say those are probably the three things that skipping a strategy that I've ran into multiple times. Just not knowing, fear, or ego that keeps people from this very important point, this very important first step. So,
And I love that you speak in analogies because I also do that, maybe to a fault, but it just helps me make sense of
it's
things.
your fault. Yeah, it does.
So can you walk us through how you approach building a marketing plan from scratch and how do you align teams around the shared goal?
So I would say building a marketing plan from scratch. I always start with a discovery meeting. I'll just kind of bloat this pretty quick, but a discovery meeting is when I meet with the company leaders and I'm there to understand what their real goals are, their past wins, their losses, their current frustrations. I ask, why are we doing this? Who is this for? Those are kind of the topics we cover in a discovery meeting. And then after this discovery meeting, I go into a deep dive audit, is what I call it. And I review their current marketing, their voice, their ads, their emails. I talk to their teams. I have conversations with their teams and team leads. And what I'm really looking for in that audit is blind spots or misalignment between what the leadership says they are and what their goals are and what they're actually doing. And it's not to, go say, oh, you're not doing what you say. It really is just to find blind spots, because we all know there's definitely blind spots. So start with a discovery meeting, move into an audit. Then in that audit, I spot quick wins. I identify lowest hanging fruit, find out what's working and what isn't. So my goal is to quickly find out what is working, where we can build momentum, and what isn't working and what we need to shut down immediately. Like, in other words, anchors, things that are holding us back from momentum, or waste, or anything like that. And then from there, I create what I call the big picture, which is just basically a high level vision. Think of it as looking at the mountain from the base. High level vision, this is where we're trying to go. And then I map a journey, like in phases. First, we're going to start here, and then we're going to get here, we're going to get here. So I build the roadmap after that. And in that, I include the people we need, the assets we need. So now we're packing our backpack if we're going to use the hiking analogy, which I love to hike. So this is an easy analogy for me. And then align and execute. So once I build the roadmap, I meet with the leadership team again, for feedback and my blind spots. Once it's greenlit, we move fast. Everyone knows their roles. Everyone's in their seat. Expectations are set, and we go.
That's amazing. I'm going to start using that. So how do you align teams around that shared goal? So you discussed kind of like bringing them into it. So how are you structuring, okay, this is your job, this is your job, and are you reaching out to other different partners or such, or within yourself, in order to succeed in those goals?
Well, the aligning of teams does come down to when I meet with individual teams, and that is that mirroring. I said, like, depending on what the leadership is telling me that they believe the team's roles are, and then I'll talk to team members, and then they'll tell me what they believe their roles are, their roles and responsibilities, and that will go into that high level kind of audit when I meet with the leadership team, and just make sure we align first with what the team perceives their job and their role to be versus with the leaders. And it really is amazing how often that reflection doesn't line up. Like, they're like, oh, I did not realize that they expected that of me, So it's just such a crucial step. And I found just first aligning teams with expectations. That's why I talk to teams. So when I build that roadmap further down the line, and we do the assets of what are we packing in the backpack to get to our destination and for the journey, right? To understand the terrain. That's why that is such a crucial step of talking to the teams and aligning what their expectations are versus what the leadership is. So when I build the map, it's crystal clear. And in that time, we're able to clear up those lines of communication, like get the team and leadership super clear on those expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting that you say that a lot of times it doesn't align. So it's really interesting, like, when you have those conversations, and it's so important so that you can be like, hey, this person said this, that person said this. Maybe we need to work through this conversation so we know what the terrain will be down the road. And maybe you're saving some companies. I don't know. Maybe they have a deeper conversation after that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of my job is the discovery and audit. It really is, because it's so transformative for the teams, for both the owners, the leadership teams, the creative teams, whoever those are, because it always, and I'll be honest with you, if I was pulled into a company that had all their stuff together and already had all this set up, I wouldn't be there. They would already have someone in place in these systems. So I would say almost 100% of the time, we're discovering stuff in that discovery meeting that is clearly showing where there's lack of communication, or things aren't getting done, or expectations weren't clear. And it really does just come down to no one is intentionally trying to sabotage or anything or whatever. It really is just people just aren't clear on what other people's expectations are of them, and it happens, I would say 100% of the time. And then once we get clear on that, then we can start identifying gaps like, oh, I wasn't clear, me as a creative director, that you were also expecting me to make sure everything was on brand voice or brand personality. Like I was just coming up with the creatives. And if they're not matching up with copy, I didn't understand that was my job. Like those conversations happen during the discovery meeting. And so if it is no, that expectation is set, that is your job, then it moves to the conversation, are they capable of that job? Someone could be an amazing designer or creative director, but that doesn't mean they have the skill level to translate that into giving feedback on brand personality, brand copy, things like that. And so not only does it open up the conversation of, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't aware that that was an expectation. But then usually the secondary conversation is, do they have the skill set for that to be an expectation? Can they get us to the top of the mountain? Do they have the skill set to do that? And then we can have, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And then if they don't, we can identify that gap. Oh, wow, that's why this keeps happening, because they don't have the skill set to do that and you're expecting them to. So we need to get someone to do that, to create that copy or to organize that or to design that, to sign off on those things. So
Absolutely. I think that sometimes people have anxiety around the ask because they're afraid, oh,
yeah,
I don't want to ask them if this is my job, because what if they're going to think that I haven't been doing my job this entire time? And people just don't want the answer sometimes. So they just, you know, push it off. And then you come in and you're like, all right, now who is doing what? And we're going to figure
right.
this out.
And I do it in a way that I try to always approach it very empowering. Like, from my understanding, this is your job. Is that your understanding? Yeah. So it's not like I'm questioning or, I try to set it up so I can build a foundation of trust so the teammates and I can have that honest conversation and establish that trust so I feel like they can confide in me. And so then I can translate that and be kind of a bridge to the owners or the leadership team and say, I talked to so and so. I feel like she has amazing strengths here. I've done this, but through our conversation, I found this little, and be an advocate for both the leadership team and for the creative team, because my goal is to bring everybody together in a cohesive team so we can march our asses up that mountain and get the peak. You know what I mean? Get the views from the top, So it really is just trying to, like I said, identify those gaps and those misunderstandings. And that's in the discovery. That's why discovery is so crucial and so important. And often, I would say 80% of the time missed. It's a misstep, and that can happen anytime in the journey of a business. It can happen at the founding, at the startup, and 20 years in, because, we're always evolving. So
Absolutely. Completely agree. And so you've worked within in-house teams and
sure.
agencies and as a fractional leader. What are some of the common strategy gaps that you walk into and how do you help fill them?
Um, I would just say the most common gaps that I walk into, like on the regular, are lack of clear processes, shared clarity, and streamlined communication. And those are the top three gaps that I walk into 80 to 90% of the time. It's either all three or one or more of the three. And it's often a case of the right hand just not knowing what the left hand is doing. And because of that, it's very difficult to build something as a team and to reach a goal as a team if nobody knows what each other's doing. And what I have found that happens in those scenarios is communication isn't clear and breakdowns happen and there's no process and no way of knowing. Like for me, I've got Monday messages and Slack messages and Notion messages and you know what I mean? Like I've got stuff everywhere, but I have to have a clear way of communicating with multiple people and understand what the design team is doing compared to what the copy team is doing compared to what the campaign ads, whatever. But it's that, and if there's not a process for that communication, it just breaks down. I mean, that is, I would say, the top three things that break down. Almost 100% of the time I go in, and it's that.
Amazing. I'm glad that you're able to fulfill
Yeah.
that. So what does success look like for you when you are stepping into a fractional role on a team?
Success looks like a lot of things to a lot of people, and I would say I've been doing marketing now and had my own businesses and ran my own teams for over 20 years. But specifically when I'm coming in to work with outside teams, or inside teams, and I'm coming in from an outsider, I would say when I really honed in on this, when I really thought about this question, it was just crystal clear to me that success to me is a team that works within a foundation of trust. Because I've worked with teams that don't they have not established trust. So everybody's in their silos, everybody's on the defensive. When we're in meetings, people are scared to share their ideas. It's almost like we cut their legs out from underneath them. And so when I come into a team where that foundation has not been established, whether it's between the different team members or leadership and the creative team, wherever it is, wherever there's trust that hasn't been solidified, and I can get that. I think of it as like, again, I'm um, what did I call it for the hikers? Like I'm your guide up the mountain, right? Part of being a guide is making sure the team stays together and everybody's super clear on the roles and they trust that this person has the rope and this person's got their back. I mean, and I tell my teams this all the time, and everybody's heard this, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so if our weakest link is mistrust, that's a big deal when you're trying to get 5 people or 5 teams rowing in the same direction or moving in the same direction in a very strategic way. And if there's not trust from the leadership down, that doesn't happen. And I worked in those environments and they're toxic. And so back to the original question, I would say success for me is a team that's rowing together, that trust each other. We share, we have conversations, we've unleashed everybody's superpower rather than holding it in, holding it down. We've created an environment that creativity flows, conversations happen, truth is told, respect is honored, and when those things happen, I have seen companies literally turn around. I've seen companies go up by 80% in conversions and everything because suddenly everybody is there as a team and we're working together. I'm not there to take your job or shine brighter than anybody else. I understand my role and I understand you guys trust me in that role and I have strength in that role and I have the ability and the green light to go do the best freaking job I can do. And I know that for everybody else on my team. So, and then not only that, what happens is teams cross over and they just help each other. Like they just jump in. They're like, here, throw that to me. Give that. Nobody's trying to be the hero. We're saying we win as a team and we shine individually in our lane, but we win as a team and we can build something just badass and amazing. So trust to me is success. And from that trust, we create success for that company over and over and over again. But if we can't establish that as a team, I mean, you're just, it's like crawling up a mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. I mean,
Becomes very
I like the
dangerous.
analogy of rowing because if you've rowed before with a group of people, you know that if one person is off, it
Yeah,
is going to hold you back so much. And then as soon as that person gets in sync, you can literally bullet up to the front.
right. And not only that, when everybody is rowing and there's one person that's drinking it up, everybody's getting tired. They're getting frustrated. They're like, just throw the paddle in the water, like just get in sync, So it's if we're not in alignment with each other and there's not a foundation of trust and we don't have communication and we don't have clarity and we're not rowing together. And then the leadership team comes, and so it doesn't matter at that point the big idea or how great it was or how much money you spent. It's like your team who is building this meaningful thing for you is falling apart. They don't have the ability because we're not rowing together. Everybody's just in their own silos and their own defenses, doing their job and terrified all the time that someone else might outshine them or leadership's going to get pissed or we might miss the mark. And I'm always like, we are going to miss the mark. That is part of marketing. We will pivot. There's times we're going to fall on our faces and we're going to learn and we're going to get back up, but we will do it as a team, and we will celebrate and we will fall as a team. And, I don't know. It really does, to me, that is success because I've seen success actually built and then grow and scale from trust, not from talent, not from money, not from budgets, from trust. It's amazing what a team of 5 can do that trusts each other versus a team of 15 who doesn't. The team of 5, I can guarantee, is going to outperform, outdo, outscale, outgrow any team bigger than them, because they have trust as their foundation. They're rowing together and they're kicking ass and they're getting down whatever the rivers. Is that what they row down the rivers? Creek downs? I don't know.
Think they roll on a body of water.
Right. 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 Everybody rows on something different. But I'm saying that that to me is the foundation of success, is building
Mhm.
trust in a team.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that you often inherit campaigns that are tactical first, like ads, social emails, without any guided plans. How do you assess and redirect a team without completely starting over?
I'll just give you an example of this. So I go so with Spikeball, when I was brought into Spikeball, for example, I was brought in a month before they were about to launch a big campaign, and their marketing director had just put in her 2 weeks notice. So there was no time for starting over. Like, this campaign was going to launch regardless. And so as I stepped in, I always start with just a quick assessment. I mean, that's where I start, as an audit. And then I just simply break it down into two things: what we want, what are must-haves, and what would nice to have, And the must-haves we prioritize. I quickly find who's in what lane, we pass it off, and then we just assess along the way. I'm not sure if that answered the question, because as I was answering, I'm thinking, is that what she asked? But yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. No, it's you just assess everything and you see where you can go from that without having to start over, basically.
Right. So I'll just do a campaign. Like in this case, I did a campaign audit. I assessed the timeline. I simplified the campaign down into a strategy of must-haves and nice-to-haves, because I didn't have time to do a full strategy. And then I provided the team with clear and actionable steps with deadlines. And then from there, it was just all about roles, assignments, check-ins, and approvals, and understanding too, as a campaign director, in that when I was brought into that, I wasn't originally brought in as a campaign director, but they asked if I could step up because of the unexpected, um, the fact that their campaign director was leaving kind of unexpectedly. So they asked if I could step in, and I just had to really just jump in and just assess timelines, must-haves, nice to have. If we had time for the nice to haves, we put them in there, and then just clear actionable steps, and knowing this isn't going to be perfect and being okay with that. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, and I knew there was probably going to be a lot of bumps in the road, and I accepted it, and I was okay with it, and I told the team we're okay with it. But right now it's about, let's get the must-haves done. Let's get the deadlines. Let's assess. Let's get moving. I mean, so again, I feel like a strong strategist is ready for those kind of the unexpecteds. You have to be ready, and really the foundation is the same. Assess, make a clear and direct plan, make sure everybody's clear on their roles, and go.
Absolutely. And being able to pivot, like you've mentioned
Yeah.
before.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny
And
because pivot is like a word, and got a testimonial, and the guy goes, "When I think of Jennie, I think of the word pivot." Because I'm always like, yeah, we have room for pivoting. We're going to be pivoting if we don't have room for pivoting. So I use that word a lot.
I think about Ross from Friends. Do you remember that episode?
Yes. No. No.
Pivot. Oh my gosh,
No, I
they're
need
putting
yeah.
they're pushing a couch up the stairs and he's
Oh,
just
yes.
yelling pivot. Yeah.
Pivot. Pivot. Pivot.
Pivot.
Right. That's
Yeah,
hilarious. I'm going
exactly.
to do a meme on that. Yeah.
You should definitely of you on his face pivoting. Yes.
Pivot.
With the
Pivot. Pivot. Put a marketing director, campaign strategy, pivot.
That's
Anyway,
so
yeah.
that's
It's
perfect.
hilarious.
Tag me.
Yeah. Yeah, I will for sure.
I love it. So when you're pulling in contractors or partners, what do you look for in terms of trust, communication, and a fit? Because that's such a strong value for you.
Right. Um, I would say on trust, it's just following through with what you say. If someone says, I'll have this to you by Monday, and then I don't hear from them by Wednesday, it's an automatic no for me, because in the land of campaign management, deadlines are super important. So in the trust, I look for communication and follow through. Like, I don't care if they are going to get it to me on Wednesday, but communicate that. Hey, I know
Hmm.
I said I'd have this to you by today. Yeah, again, come back into trust, right? Um, And then I'm a results girl. You can tell me all day long. I don't know if you ever listen to Jim Rohn, but he always says the number tells the story. So when I'm
Hmm.
having like preliminary conversations with people who are like, oh, I did this and I did that. And I'm like, okay, can you tell me how you did it? Like, how did you scale this company? How did you take their subscribers and scale them tenfold and start making their email list make X amount of dollars per month? Like, what was your plan behind that? And those are just the type of conversations I have. And you can tell really quickly the people who are blowing fluff versus the people who have actually done it. Because when you ask those questions, they go, oh, this is what we did. And they pull it out. And so for me, it's communicate. There's evidence of what you did. There's a result. There's a form. There's something. Fit is big. That's a big one because you can have someone who's extremely talented, but if they're not a fit in the vibe or the team or whatever, it really can throw everybody off. But I don't want to discredit people who don't fit either, because it's just finding that flow of conversation. And for me, fit more is what I am looking for in a partner specifically. I would say the only fit I'm really looking for is confidence in their own skill. Like if they're confident in what they can do, I feel like they're confident enough to fit in. Like that's all I'm looking for is your own personal confidence. Can you? And it really is pretty clear when you're talking to someone, their level of confidence. And they can tell me a lot of things, but if I feel like they don't feel confident or confidence in themselves to do what they say they can do, it's almost falls in that fit. Are they a fit? Are they gonna be able to stand their ground? Are they gonna be able to stand? Because I'm a pretty direct person, very kind. I'm not like mean or anything like that, but I'm saying I'm a direct person. And so if they're not confident to push back and say, hey, I understand what you're saying, Jennie, but I'm doing this for this reason. I want that pushback. I want that. I'm hiring them as the expert. I'm going to get them up. I'm going to maybe get them up the trail, but if there's a lion, I'm not going to know what to do. So I want to be confident that you're our protector from mountain lions on this journey. And if they're like, well, and they don't feel confident, for me, that's not a fit. It's
Right.
like, I don't know that I want to take you on this journey because I'm not confident that you're confident.
It's funny that you say that because when I first started in this, like I am a certified people pleaser but I knew what I was doing, but in the beginning it was hard for me to push back on what somebody said because I didn't want to hurt their feelings or make them feel stupid or whatever. But after like a couple of months in, I started realizing when I do push back, they appreciate it more because I have
Yep.
those opinions and they sit there in my mind. So if you just say those opinions, I've had people say, like, at first, I didn't know if I was going to get this client.
Yeah.
And we were kind of going back and forth for a little bit. And then eventually I said, hey, honestly, I don't think this is going to work. This route probably would be better for you. And they said, oh, you got me right there. And it was like
Yeah.
so much of a better fit looking in that direction. So if
Right.
I would have
Right.
never said anything, we probably wouldn't have had them as a client.
No, I mean, I went into one of my biggest clients and they were my client for 7 years. And when I started with them, they had never sold a product online. They were a global company that ran through distributors and dealers and things like that. Anyway, when I first sat down with them, the CMO that was interviewing me, he sat down and he leaned back. He's like, tell me why I should hire you. Why should I hire you? That was his first question in the interview. And I looked at him and I said, well, I can't tell you why you should hire me. I don't even know you. I don't even know what you need. I don't know that I'm a fit. And I look at this as a two-way conversation. This is a two-way interview. So part of this interview is going to be asking you what your expectations of me are. Like, why are you looking for a strategist? And then I'll tell you after that, after we have some conversation, why I believe or if I believe I'm a fit for this position, and we have to lean on that and have confidence in ourselves and our own skills and get out of the lack mindset that I just need to take any client that comes my way. I mean, I worked in that lane. I'm sure you do whenever we're startups, whenever we're starting new, and that is part of the ladder that we climb is finding our confidence, doing things, knowing we can do hard things, knowing we can fail and get back up. That's all part of it. But it's so freeing when you have surpassed that part of yourself of what I think everybody has it, the imposter syndrome. When you
Mm-hmm.
finally can step out of imposter syndrome. And I think we all carry it a little bit no matter what. I know I do. But I remember fully stepping in, even after tons of results and everything, and still feeling like, I don't know, I just have to take any client that comes to me and those kind of things. But I know what that now feels like. And so when I'm interviewing someone else or talking to someone else, I can feel the energy that they are no longer in a imposter syndrome role, that they are confident in who they are and confident in their skills. And honestly, even if they can't see it, I feel like I'm pretty good at like, I see something in you, just come work with me and we're going to get you over that little hump, because I do believe in, building people up and building their teams and helping mirror back to them the strengths that we see in them and then help them build up their weaknesses as well. As a team lead, I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to spot those diamonds in a rough or having that confidence, it comes with time and experience because, when you are just fluffing it up, it's kind of going to be a little harder to have
Yeah.
that confidence than if you
Yeah.
have the data behind you that you could say,
Right.
hey, in this campaign, we did X, Y, and Z, and this is how we tracked it, and blah, blah, blah. And this is what their
Right.
goals were, and we overcame those goals and surpassed them. So having that
Right.
confidence and saying, like, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and are you the right fit for me as a client as well?
Right. And I think another layer of that is, and then you've probably ran into this, Kinsey, in because we're in the same worlds, but if you have someone who is blowing fluff to a client who doesn't understand marketing, scaling, strategy, or business, that client will believe in the fluff, right? So they'll match up. Like they'll sell them on the idea of what they can do. And then you get in there and the client is trusting that this person who sold them on the idea of who they are and they were good at it. Like they were really good at selling them on the idea. And then they get in there. What starts to happen is immediately trust starts to break down because the fluff starts to disappear and where the rubber meets the road, it's not meeting. So then everything starts to get questioned and then the campaign director or whoever the contracted marketing person that was hired starts to get frustrated and blaming the client's like, we are blaming you because we hired you to do these things. It really is just a super I was going to say unfun. Is that a word? I'm going to say it's a word.
But
Unfun.
yeah, it is. We'll
Anyway,
we'll
it's
invent
it's
it.
not a fun, yeah, it's not a fun experience, but I do feel like it's an important one. And so, I think it's an important one for both businesses to experience and for contractors to experience. Like, go in there, and I don't care if you're good at one thing that's going to make a difference. Like, say, this is my strength. These may not be my strength, but I'm strengthening them. I'm working on it. Like, nobody's going to be the, gold star. We get those once in a while, but usually they don't stick around. When you get a gold star, they're scaling up, moving on, having those experiences, flying. And we want those people. But um, just really being honest and matching up your clients with you, because if you're not with your skills, if you're not, it doesn't work. It always comes down crashing and burning. And then I get those clients that have had to crash and burn, and then I have to get through all of their mistrust issues of
Mhm.
last guy said this and then he didn't pull through and the last person did this and we wasted thousands and thousands of dollars and it didn't get, and as a marketing strategist, I'm always like, oh, how do we, challenge
Right.
accepted. I'm going to get in there and, whatever. But I too am a people pleaser. I've had to learn that balance because I do like pleasing people. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like, people being like, oh, wow, that was great. But I now
Right.
really focus on true value. Like, I want to be able to deliver true value that is measurable, that you can see, that you can feel, that resonates, that kind of fun stuff. I think I got off
Yeah.
track a little bit. Sorry.
It's okay. It's perfect. Actually, it segues right into what I was going to talk about. But what I was going to say is that managing expectations are super important, especially if
Yes.
somebody's come to you and said, "Oh, I've been burnt so many times."
Right, right. Yep. And just having those honest conversations, which again always goes back to that foundation of trust, which leads to success and not only one win, but win after win after win, because now you have this fluid team with trust and managed expectations, and everybody knows their role and everybody knows their row rhythm, and it takes time to get there, but it's part of the journey, and it's such a fun part to go. That transformation with a client is just, oh, love it. It's just so much.
Pivot.
Pivot, pivot.
Yeah. You shared a really powerful story about a book launch that missed the mark strategically. And what advice would you give a business changing vanity goals over true outcomes?
Okay, so let's just first say what a vanity goal is. So if anybody's watching this, when we say that, they have kind of a reference point. I mean, this is what I think it is. And Kenzie, if I'm off point to what you believe it is, just jump in anytime. But to me, when I look at vanity goals or vanity numbers is what I call them, I'll get with like a strategist or a client or whoever, and they'll show me numbers. We have 400,000 subscribers to our email list, and we want, we have this many, a million social media followers, and we get 300,000 visits to our website every single month. To me, those are all vanity numbers in the sense of, okay, but out of those 500,000 newsletter subscribers, what's your engagement rate? What's your click-through rate? What are people opening? Are they interacting? Has your sales gone up? What's your conversion rate? When somebody goes from your email, like, what are your emails making you? And on your social media, like, how are you growing year over year? What's your engagement? Because I'm telling you this right now, thumbs up doesn't get sales. What is your growth? Like, there's the vanity numbers to prove that you have followings and stuff, but to me, those are vanity numbers. Those are numbers you're just throwing out to say, hey, wow, we're important. And that is a number to look at. But the truth is what is the result of those vanity numbers? And those are the numbers I'm interested in seeing. And back to the book launch, the goal of the strategy. And when I was talking to the author about this, she was, I just feel like there was manipulation there. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure that it was manipulative what they did. I'm just saying it was a poor strategy because their strategy was to become a number one bestseller within the first 2 hours of the book drop and Kindle downloads. And the strategy was to get every single person they knew and then some, and paid ads and everything just to get people to download the book for 99 cents or something like that. So they reached that goal. They became a number one seller book. They became a number one selling book. But then when that campaign was over, sales plummeted, book didn't get shared, no momentum was picked up. And so it was a poor strategy because they were looking at a vanity number, a vanity goal, which was the vanity goal is I'm a New York Times bestseller. It wasn't New York Times, but it was like Audibles or Amazon or something like that, an Amazon bestseller. And I'm like, that's a vanity goal. If you want to talk about a vanity goal, that's a vanity goal because the real goal was for people to get this book, read it, implement it, change the way leadership was done, continue to sell, start having these conversations, and grow from the momentum of the bestseller status. But the marketing person went after a vanity goal, and the author, because she didn't understand marketing, got in line with the vanity goal, paid for the vanity goal, reached the vanity goal, and then the marketer was like, hey, now you owe me thousands of dollars, like thousands. And at that point, no momentum had been picked up. All of her money was lost. The bestseller status didn't do shit for her. The book flopped. You know what I mean? Because that's a vanity goal. And so when I'm working with teams, I'm always like, that's a vanity goal. Like, what's the real goal? So that's kind of just a differentiator in those two. I don't know if that answered your question. I hope so.
Perfectly. Perfectly. Because a lot of times, especially if you're working with companies that are in banking or finance or something that, numbers are very important to them, or maybe just any company, like saying, oh, you're going to get X, Y impressions, you're going to get this many clicks and da da da. Okay, but how much are they going to make from it? What is their ROI? Like, what is something tangible that they can actually understand? Might take a little bit more time to understand that data, but it's way, way worth it.
Right. And one way I approach that too is, and I learned this from Simon Sinek, the understanding the game you're in. Are you in the long game or the short game? And it's amazing how many strategies are based on a short game win. Like the book, for example, that was a vanity metric for a short gain win. And that gain was to get X amount of downloads so they could reach the status. So the strategist, the marketer didn't even understand the game they were in because the game they were in was to get it was the long game, is for people for the book to continue to sell and the message of the book to continue to grow and go viral and change leadership in this country and how we approach things. But that never happened because they were in a short game strategy. So I would say, even in those vanity metrics, you can have those. You can say, okay, vanity metric is fine. We have X amount of followers. We're going to be a New York Times bestseller, whatever those are. But what's the long game? That's short game. What's our long game that we're in? And the long game is always to stay in the game. That is the long game. Our game is to stay in the game. And so I think for anybody watching this, whether they're a business person or a marketing person, if they can first understand in their strategies, what game am I in? And then build a strategy around that game and clearly understand the difference between a vanity metric and a result metric. Both important. It's not to say vanity metrics are a bad thing, but they don't get you very far.
Definitely not. Absolutely not. And, you need to look at vanity metrics and make sure that you're looking at the right goals, make sure you have the right tools in line. So when you need to collaborate with external providers like ad buyers, content creators, et cetera, how do you make sure that they're aligned with the bigger picture as well?
Again, to me, the numbers tell the story. And so I look for real tangible answers, solutions, results that they can either provide for me or something they've done in the past. And I've been in the game long enough that, I feel like, and this probably sounds vain, but it's not, it's just truth, that I feel like I've worked with enough outside companies that I just have things I look for, give me this, this, and this. If they can provide it quick and not like a week later, like they're going and trying to pull all this together, but again, just simplifying the answer to what you just asked is people who have actually done it have the results to prove they've done it. It's pretty clear to me when talking to anyone. It's like, okay, well, you say you can scale ads to this and you can do this and you can do this. Where have you done that and how did you do it? And they can clearly show that, and you can tell that they understand what they're doing. And I personally have done enough with ad buyers. And I mean, I don't do media buying, but I've worked with them enough and built funnels and metrics and analytics that I can usually spot it. But if you're new to it, if you're coming in this new with new eyes and wanting to bring on partners and what to look for, I would just say I would want examples, at least 3. Or if they're bragging about something really big, I would want to say, can you break that down? Like, how did you do that? What were you tracking and why? And now you have AI. I mean, throw that shit in AI and have it take a look. Have put in a prompt saying you're a media buying expert. You were just given this plan to review, find any holes, find this, whatever it is, find those prompts. And then tell ChatGPT to optimize your prompt for the best outcome. And let it, if you're new to this game, I mean, I'm not even new to it, but I'm still loving being able to have AI to look at things that I maybe don't even see. And it's a powerful tool. So, use AI, ask for examples, break it down in AI, and make your best decision. I mean, there is no perfect road to making decisions, and bringing people on until you just start doing it. You just have to start doing it.
Absolutely. And so speaking of that, where do you see marketing heading in the next 3 to 5 years, especially as tech and automation continues to evolve?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's a loaded question. Holy crap. I mean, I see it. First of all, even me as a marketing, I had my own agency. After COVID, everybody went remote. After that, AI came in everybody went remote. So we didn't have an office anymore. That was weird. I had like an office of 6 people and a development team and everything. Like it was just like this bustling office. And now it's me and my AI tools and going into, and then I work with in-house teams, so the way with specifically for someone like me, a marketing strategist or director, campaign director, if I'm doing fractional work, there's me and my knowledge and about 3 AI tools I work with rather than having employees. I use AI, but I'm knowledgeable enough. Not when I say knowledgeable enough, I'm not saying that in a way of I don't have stuff to learn still. I believe that we always have another level to learn. But what I'm saying is I'm knowledgeable enough now um, to be able to understand what it is I need to be able to use these tools. And if you don't have that knowledge, there's the tools can teach you. So I just see marketing getting more and more humanized. People are worried about AI actually taking the human out of it. But from my experience, I think AI is already changing the landscape of everything, especially in marketing and ads. And I mean, it's just incredible. It's almost like my brain can't wrap around where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years from now. It really, truly can't. But I think AI is definitely changing that landscape. And you're what a team of 10 would take, you're down to a team of one. And if they're really good, you would never know it was AI ever, and you're taking human experience. I think the key is in the future is the people who can remain very human in a world of AI, very authentic in the world of AI, um, are going to be the highest players in the game, because right now I can spot AI almost like that because people are instead of using it as a tool, they're using it as a shortcut and it's starting to look very carbon copy. And then there's stuff I'm like, oh my gosh, like this feels like they're literally talking to me or this, I'm not sure. I'm sure they probably did, but maybe not. And so I just feel like in the landscape of AI, understanding that you're the creator, the AI is not the creator, like understanding the tool versus the creator and getting just mastering that tool are going to be the top players in the game in any business field in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't care what it is. Like find something, freaking master it, then scale it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So, keeping your human self into it and maybe letting it like structure something. For
right.
example, you have maybe you're doing a proposal for somebody and you have
Mhm.
all the information that you need and you're like, oh, what order should I put this in? I need
Mhm.
to save 10 minutes right now. Boom, you put this in AI. It's like, this is the message. This is a strategy. It's the same information you've put down. It's your thoughts, your math,
Mhm.
your experience, but they've played a really good role of here, this is how you should lay it out. This will psychologically help their brains process it all, whatever it may be.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is right now I talk to my AI just like I talk to my team. So if I was talking with a designer, I'd be like, okay, the vision for this is this. This is the creative ideation. What we need is this. This is the brand voice, yada, yada, yada. I give it all the parameters and then give me 3 to 5 big ideas based on all that. And then, I'll get that. So to me, the AI and it's learning fast and my AI all has all my own personality in it now because I've been working in it for a while. But, I'm using it as a tool. Like even when I'm writing, and I'm writing a book right now, and I'm using it as an editor. Like rather than going and hiring an editor, I'm saying you are an expert editor in this field and this kind of niche for these types of books with these type of authors. And it's still all my own writing. And then I pass it off to an editor to give me feedback from an editing standpoint. So, but there are people, and I've worked with them that just drop everything in AI and they hand me back copy and I just stare at it. I'm like, yeah, no, that is not,
Right.
that's not, it sounds like a machine wrote that. Just
Right.
we've got to stay centered in our humanness and our own skills. And then use the AI as an extension of our own skill set and grow from it and learn from it
Absolutely.
and all those other things. But
Of course. So, Jenny, this has been such a refreshing conversation. Your no nonsense approach to strategy, storytelling, and staying aligned to outcomes is something every brand and agency needs to hear. For anybody that wants to connect with Jenny or learn more about the kind of results Marketing Simplified delivers, check out marketingsimplified.com or find her on LinkedIn. Jenny, thank you so much again for joining me. This has been such a
you're
pleasure.
welcome. It's been so much fun. Thanks, Kenzie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for listening.